The Galactic Council chamber hummed with the low-frequency vibrations of 1,000 different species, each contributing their unique voice to the cacophony of intergalactic discourse. Ambassador Claire Reeves stood at the human delegation's platform, her hands clasped behind her back, watching the proceedings with the patient detachment that had become her trademark over the past decade of service. "The humans are such a peculiar species," whispered the Vrax representative to his neighbor, unaware that Claire's translator implant caught every word. "So fragile, yet they persist in these dangerous sectors of space." Claire allowed herself the ghost of a smile. Let them underestimate humanity. It had always been their greatest advantage. Across the chamber, the ancient Kethvar elder raised 3 of his 6 arms, commanding immediate silence. The Kethvar were the oldest known species in the galaxy, their civilization spanning over 50 million years. When they spoke, even the most arrogant species listened. "We gather today to address the recent territorial disputes in the Epsilon sector." The elder's voice resonated through every translator in the chamber. "However, before we proceed, I must reiterate an ancient warning that some among you seem to have forgotten." His massive eyes, black as the void between stars, swept across the assembly. "Never provoke the humanity. This is not a suggestion. It is wisdom purchased with blood and ash." A ripple of confusion passed through the newer species delegations. The Jakril ambassador, an insectoid creature whose people had only joined the council a century ago, clicked his mandibles in what translated as dismissive laughter. "With respect, Elder, the humans are a young species, barely 3 centuries since first contact. They possess no world-breaking weapons, no reality-warping technology. Why should the mighty Jakril Empire fear these primates?" The chamber fell silent. Claire felt her jaw tighten, but she remained still. This was not her fight to begin. The Kethvar elder's expression, inscrutable to most species, showed what his people would recognize as profound sadness. "Because, young ambassador, you confuse power with danger. You measure threat by the size of weapons, by the grandeur of fleets. You do not understand what makes humanity truly terrifying." "Then enlighten us," the Jakril challenged, his wings buzzing with agitation. "Humans do not know when to stop," the elder said simply. "Every species in this chamber has a threshold, a point where survival instinct overrides ambition, where logic dictates retreat, where the cost becomes too high to bear." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Humans have no such threshold. They will burn their own worlds before surrendering them. They will fight until extinction rather than accept defeat. And most terrifying of all, they remember. Every slight, every wound, every betrayal is carved into their collective memory, passed down through generations until vengeance is delivered in full measure." The Jakril ambassador waved a dismissive claw. "Superstitious nonsense. Perhaps the elder has lived too long and sees phantoms where there are only shadows." 3 weeks later, the Jakril made their move. Nicholas Kane was a mining engineer, not a soldier. He'd spent the last 5 years on Proxima Station 7, a small human settlement in the Epsilon sector that specialized in rare earth extraction. The station housed 300 souls, miners, engineers, scientists, and their families. It was quiet, peaceful, and profoundly boring, until the day the Jakril warships appeared. Nicholas was in the middle of a systems check when the alarms began screaming. Through the transparent aluminum viewports, he watched in horror as plasma bolts tore through the station's outer ring. The attack was unprovoked, unexpected, and utterly merciless. "All personnel to emergency shelters." The station AI's voice remained calm despite the chaos. "This is not a drill. Hostile forces are engaging the station." Nicholas ran through corridors filled with smoke and screaming. He helped seal emergency bulkheads, pulled injured workers from collapsed sections, and tried desperately to reach his sister's quarters in the residential section. He was 50 meters away when that section of the station exploded into space. 217 humans died in the attack. The Jackrel broadcasted their justification across all frequencies. The humans had been encroaching on sovereign Jackrel territory and needed to learn their place in the galactic hierarchy. They had no idea what they'd done. Claire received the news during a council recess. She read the casualty list once, twice, 3 times. Her hands didn't shake. Her voice didn't waver when she requested an immediate emergency session. But those who knew humanity, truly knew them, saw the change in her eyes and felt a primal fear awaken in their hearts. The HFY elder looked at her across the chamber and slowly bowed his great head in respect and sorrow. "Ambassador Reeves," the council arbiter began, "we understand your species has suffered a tragedy, but the Jackrel claim they were—" "Save it," Claire interrupted, her voice cutting through the chamber like a blade. "I'm not here to debate. I'm here to deliver a message." She turned to face the Jackrel delegation directly. "You have 72 hours to surrender every individual involved in the attack on Proxima Station 7 for trial under galactic law. You will pay reparations to every family affected, and your ambassador will personally apologize before this council." The Jackrel ambassador's laughter chittered through his translator. "Or what? You'll file a complaint? Humans and their precious paperwork? Or we will come for you," Claire said quietly. "Not today, not tomorrow, but we will come. And when we do, you'll understand why the elders warned you." The Jackrel refused, of course. They had a fleet of 10,000 warships. They had conquered 40 star systems. They feared nothing. 18 months later, Nicholas Kane stood on the bridge of the UHNS Retribution, one of 300 ships that had translated into Jackrel space. He wasn't an engineer anymore. He was a gunner, and his target was locked. The humans had spent every day since the attack preparing. They'd liquidated economic reserves, converted civilian infrastructure to military production, and drafted every able-bodied volunteer. They'd called in every favor from every species that owed them one, and they'd come with a simple message that Ambassador Reeves delivered personally to the Jackrel homeworld. "You took our innocence. Now answer for it." The war lasted 3 years. The humans lost 200 ships and 30,000 soldiers. The Jackrel Empire ceased to exist. In the aftermath, as Claire stood once again before the Galactic Council accepting the Jackrel's unconditional surrender, the HFY elder approached her. "I tried to warn them," he said softly. "I know," Claire replied, "but some lessons can only be learned through pain." The elder looked at her with his ancient eyes. "Do you know why we HFY survived 50 million years?" "Ambassador." "Why?" "Because 10 million years ago, we provoked humanity's ancestors, and we learned.